Hello, I'm Dana Cowley, and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. My guest today is Cos Edwards. Thank you so much for coming to join us.
Nice to be here.
We really appreciate it. And
Thank
he
you.
is the executive director of our local chapter of WorkSource. And WorkSource is not an employer or an agency. You work directly for the Workforce Development Council.
Yes, most people don't fully understand it, and for that matter, it's really not necessary that they understand the details. However, the Workforce Development Council is tasked with operating the WorkSource. WorkSource itself is really a mixture of agencies that have come together for a specific purpose, largely to focus on getting people employed as quickly as possible, and then on the other side of that coin, to help employers connect with qualified screen employees.
Wonderful. And we're seeing more people in our local Tri-Cities office than we ever had before, and people from different sectors, and so your demand is greater.
Yeah, just no question about it. The population that we see right now coming through our doors, the demographics of that has dramatically changed. We see more people who've never been unemployed. We see more people who are unemployed for longer periods of time, and then we see that morphing that goes with being unemployed. That is the frustration, the people who have been in the market for time and time again, only to not be able to connect with their next employer. So you're absolutely correct. We're seeing new people, the kind of people we've not seen before, as well as what they bring to the table in terms of their mindset also. There's some changes there.
We haven't seen layoffs in this area of this size since maybe 10 years or more.
Yeah, you have to go back a full decade to see the kind or the level of unemployment that we're seeing here. Obviously, we hope that we've seen the worst of it, but the reality is that we're where we're not used to being. How long we're going to stay here, it's anybody's guess. The fact of the matter is, it's in this environment that WorkSource is called to the table to be at its best, because without that asset, what we discover is that particularly those individuals who are new to this thing called unemployment, they discover that what used to be involved in terms of connecting with an employer, that the world has changed completely. That the process for connecting with an employer is not what it was, it's not your daddy's unemployment situation, as it were. So there's a whole new apparatus associated with making that happen. The days of knocking on doors or making phone calls, while that still can be effective, I think what many job seekers discover is that the use of the computer is now the cornerstone of that whole job search thing that people get caught up in.
Oh yes, you hardly see anything that you can apply for where you're not driven to a website where you need to go through and fill out their online application process, and that can be time-consuming and tedious.
Not only time-consuming, but what the resume look like also has to be different. Let me give you an example. In the old days, one could count on, once they submitted their resume, that resume would be viewed by a human being. Those days are quickly dissipating. More often than not, that resume is going to be viewed or first screened by a computer, and that computer is looking for specific things, key words, key emphasis. So that then imposes on the job seeker to craft their resume in such a fashion as to capitalize on that. If you don't know that, and if you're following the old protocols for resume building, even if you are the most qualified individual, you may very well get passed on. Not because you're not qualified, but because the change in terms of that process of getting before the employer has changed.
Right, it's how that computer search works,
exactly.
Not how well qualified you are. Well, that's one thing for folks in Washington. They are so fortunate because from the leadership in Olympia all the way down across the state, our state's doing a fantastic job of really helping people through WorkSource to get the training that they need. I mean, a lot of other states, it's really just a matter of trying to give people some financial aid while they kind of tough it out themselves. But WorkSource gets people in, offers computer classes, talks to them, gives them some counseling, and this resume writing and coaching for interviewing. I mean, all the services you offer are just phenomenal.
It's really unbelievable. My own circumstances, I came to WorkSource via the unemployment route. And I can say that if you describe one as clueless, that would have been me. So I'm fully familiar with that transition that has occurred. What I was not aware of and came to recognize with some amazement the extent of the resources that are available. It's important for people to understand that WorkSource is not the unemployment office.
No.
And once they understand that, that is what our basic goal, that is to help people to get employed, then they begin to understand the whole array of tools that we have at our disposal.
Oh, it's a great resource center.
Tremendous. We have, for example, 49 individual workstations, 2 additional computer labs. All the workstations are fully armed with complete access to the internet. We have a whole host of extremely valuable workshops, all free of charge. We have programs that are designed for more intensive types of service, where it's one-on-one. And these individuals enjoy the benefit of being able to use this system, at the risk of repeating myself, all for free.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful service, and I was so impressed with the quality of the people who coach on the resumes, and just how important that is, where that is going to be your calling card. You are going to need to apply online through the computer system, and to have people who are basically professional resume writers sit down with you and help give you some key points of what needs to be in that cover letter, how those searches work on the computer, what words to focus in depending on your career choice. It's just incredible.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you cannot remove the human element from our perspective. That is, what makes WorkSource what it is are the people. And we have it's going to sound like I'm boasting, but we have a group of people that takes their job serious, because they understand and have a great appreciation for the implications of it.
Right.
That individual who sits in front of that staffer, that individual is a husband, is a wife. Their children perhaps at home, their standard and style of living often is contingent on us being successful at our job. So it's a calling, if you will, in addition to being our vocations.
Well, and if someone comes and uses your services, they're almost guaranteed that it will shorten their job search time.
Yeah, and that's the part that we're especially proud of. For example, for individuals who participate in our what we call our adult program, we have in excess of an 80% success rate of them going back to work. We've done studies that clearly show that the distance between unemployment and reemployment is substantially shorter, and that there's a higher wage associated with that reemployment when it goes through WorkSource. So there's real value added when a person takes advantage of, again, this free service.
Well, I think very often if a person is facing a layoff, and maybe a person who's worked for 20 or 30 years in a specific industry, they've never been laid off, they've had people coming and offering them jobs, all of a sudden today's new economy arrives, they're out of work. People might not feel that they want to go down to visit with you because they might feel like it's some sort of disgrace or something that they don't want to do. And when you look at the value, the services that are offered, that it could shorten up that time, there's really no reason to not just run down every single day.
Yeah, and that's a very important point, because to some extent, that's a reflection of what once was. That is, WorkSource was perceived to be the unemployment office. And by the way, who among us want to put ourselves physically or otherwise in the unemployment office? So that's not who we are. We are an agency that's solely focused on reemployment, retraining. By the way, there's another side to this coin also that's equally important, and that's the employer side. Because without that element, then the whole equation simply doesn't function. So our services are also available to employers, because what we are in the business of, again, is facilitating a marriage, if you will, between those two groups. So we offer a whole host of services to employers. We can provide job screening. So rather than having to perhaps look at hundreds and hundreds of applicants, many of whom with good intentions may not be qualified. That takes time, that takes money, that takes effort. We can serve as an intermediary in that function. We also have a tremendous array of assessment tools. So everything from let's say basic reading for information all the way up to mechanical engineering or computer programming. We have tools that an employer, as part of the selection process, we can administer those assessment tools. So what happens is that we send the very best. Now, for those individuals who don't make that cut in that particular instance, it's not necessarily bad news because our job is still in effect in terms of helping them to then connect with another employer.
It's a matter of finding the right fit.
Right
trying
fit.
to help everybody find the right fit.
That's correct.
Wonderful. Cos Edwards, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great job.
Glad to be here.
The Executive Director of WorkSource, and so if you are looking for a job in need of retraining, back to college, or you're an employer looking for the right fit, WorkSource is a great place to go.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for watching. This is the Charter Local Edition Northwest. We thank you for watching and we hope you have a great day.